Now, before I jump into the activity, I thought I would share with you that my entire curriculum can be viewed online. It's at stricklerwms.weebly.com. Here's the week leading up to the activity, and we have a various amount of Desmos activities that are either created by the company or I've made myself. For instance, the Lego one was made by them. I created the rational. Slalom was them. It's where you have to actually put a line between some gates using line or the equation of a line. Converse of Pythagorean theorem was made by me, and then of course my Desmos review. So the concept review is the assessment, and I give that on a weekly basis. We're on a standards-based grading system, and the students, here is the question that they got on Friday. Conjecture, if more Xbox consoles are sold, then PlayStation 3 will sell more consoles as well. I have 10 years worth of data on a scatter plot. They had to draw the line of best fit, come up with the equation of that line, the slope and y-intercept, answer an application question. If 5 million Xbox consoles were sold, how many PlayStation consoles would be sold also? And then there was an application question where I want them to think about the idea of correlation and causation and say, just because there is a correlation which is strong, does it actually exist? And on the back, they were supposed to answer that. You will see those answers show up in the video because I pulled them from the test, and over the weekend, I put them in the activity so the kids can vote on who gave the best response. And we're in the video, we're going to start on slide number 4, where the students actually have to informally fit a line, the line of best fit through the data, just like they did on their assessment on Friday, but now they're doing it again without seeing the results of the test. So we're actually walking through this for the second time, but they don't know if the first one's right. Now they're going to be able to see this on a larger scale as other kids can provide answers, and then we can hand back the assessment after the activity and compare it to what we just went through to give them a deeper understanding of what they just did. So let's pick it up on slide number 4. Using the A and B sliders, everybody see that on the left side? You got, sorry, the M and B, not A and B. So the M and B sliders, I want you to manipulate the sliders until you get the line of best fit that you think is appropriate. You did this on the assessment as well. So if you can remember what you did there or not, that's fine. Or maybe you have a new look at it today. You're like, oh, okay, this is what I think is right. So go ahead and throw it in there using the sliders. Where should it go? Follow the trend. All right, this is my favorite part, you know that. So big reveal, overlay, let's see what our line of best fit looks like. Ooh. Okay. We've got a couple that have strayed away from the pack here. If you look up at my screen, we got this one on top and these two on the bottom that have kind of away from the rest of the group. And then there's a pretty tight window through here where most people are. Okay. Rate yourself. One person's like, oh, it's really bad. Oh. Some people are happy. They're happy with their line. Okay, now go to slide number 6, please. I want everybody there. So, okay. And on this one, you should see a window that I've deemed to be like the green zone. Okay, so if you're in the green zone, then you're probably still, you're excellent. So would you still rate yourself excellent based on the way I've mapped it out? Okay. If your line kind of, it looks like mine here and it overlaps the orange in that way, I'd probably call this actually pretty bad because it goes into the red, you know. I just threw that one in there just for what if. But go ahead and rate yourself based on my zones, okay? Again, our ratings improved. Look at that. You feel, so you're harsher on yourself than I am, aren't you? But yeah, that's kind of what that shows. So we have 16 out of 19 rated themselves excellent or in the green zone, okay? Which means you're in the margin of error, right? You still have about half the points above and below. You're following the trend pretty well. I think that's what my green zone, that's what I tried to accomplish with that. If I go back to the previous slide, only 10 people rated themselves green and 8 people rated themselves average, and 1 person was in the, I didn't. That's okay. So you can just see that you're probably harder on yourself than I am. So when you get your papers back, and if I have a star on your line of best fit, I'm saying you're in the green zone, okay? I think you're in the margin of error. We all see it a little bit differently, but at least you followed the trend the best you could. Okay, survey time. Now, here's what I've done. I have taken 5 answers from your test and type them in here. Fix some of the punctuation and the grammar just a little bit, just to clean them up. But these are 5 student responses from this class. Okay, I want you to read all 5 and vote for what you think is the best response to the answer to the correlation, or to the conjecture. Sorry. Votes have swayed towards the first one, and the second place right now is D. Now, let's look at the difference between A and D, okay? So A says, I think that this data has some correlation shown from the R-squared value. Sorry, I took out the squared because it kind of messed up the wording, but it should be R-squared. The data has a strong correlation. In my opinion, I don't think there is causation. Just because someone buys a PS3 doesn't mean that someone buys Xbox as well, which was the argument that Hudson and Owen were making, right? Okay. If you go to D, there is definitely a correlation between Xbox sales and PS because the correlation is 0.837, which is strong. There could be causation because they might push each other harder in advertising if sales from a rival company are boosted. So yes, there might be some causation, which is what Emily was saying, right? Okay. So it really, they start out exactly the same in their response, and then they deviate from there. One says no causation, then one says yes, right? Could you please name 2 companies that are rivals that are not Xbox and PlayStation? Go ahead and type those in. Verizon, T-Mobile, Nike and Adidas, Michaels and La Gondola, good. The Blend and Dunkin' Donuts, excellent, yeah. Samsung, iPhone, classic. US Cellular versus Verizon. Android versus Apple, that's a good one. Coke, Pepsi, longtime rivals. McDonald's and Wendy's. I think McDonald's has got the best of that one so far. Apple and Microsoft, UPS and FedEx, very good. Netflix and Hulu, you guys are all over this. Okay, so now that we've identified some companies that are rivals, go to slide number 9 and tell me about these 2 areas of business. So name at least one way that competition between those companies that you said can be good, all right? What can be good about those companies that you stated going against each other? And then I want you to think of, in the other box, how could this be bad? In what ways could competition between rivals become bad? Okay. How can competition be good? Well, if I scan down and read these, which I have been doing, I noticed that a lot of you said it does improve business for both, right? So wouldn't that be a causation idea? That one is causing the other to excel because they are pushing each other to be better? The students went on to provide just great insight into the competition between companies, why companies, if it's bad if one takes over and becomes a monopoly. I was just amazed with their ability to make those connections at a young age and to just see the world really well. This didn't happen in all my classes. Of course, my advanced classes were able to expand more upon those ideas, but it was good. It was just nice to see that everybody was able to offer something. And the activity was a success, so much so that the other teachers really want to do this again. So I've created one for this week that piggybacks off the assessment. So I'll take the assessment again on Friday. We'll come back on Monday. Instead of just handing back the test, we're going to go through 6 or 7 slides analyzing the correlation, talking about is there causation between the 2 ideas. I've chosen the Chicago Cubs and their attendance versus their wins. If they win more games, will more people attend? And they will go through that same process like they did with Xbox versus PlayStation. Then we'll talk about what brings people to baseball games, and is it just specific to the Cubs? And then we'll hand back the test and see did they actually perform the calculations correctly, and were they able to analyze it on their own before all that. And sometimes the prior knowledge doesn't line up, of course, with what they know. So you have to hopefully build upon these ideas so that they can say, okay, there's a correlation. I think there's a causation based on what we've been learning because, and then they can provide that evidence.